Matthew 8:23. Kai imbanti auto eis ta ploian, ekaluthesan auto hoi mathetai autou. So we look at the translation. Let's start with the second line here. So the disciples of him, that is his disciples, and I'll remind you that the word disciple is a masculine noun. Remember, the article is the DNA test. It will always tell you the truth. Is a masculine noun of the first declension. You maybe memorize the lexical form, ha mathetes, right? So here's the disciples of him. His disciples followed him. The verb akalutheo, which we saw up above just recently, the verb akalutheo takes a dative object or complement. That's why auto's in the dative. Notice here we have a lengthened initial vowel. We have a sigma alpha. Bam! That's an aorist active indicative third person plural. They followed. The theta, I'll just point out, is part of the lexical form. Don't get confused by that. So what do we do with the first part of the sentence? Well, in the boat is pretty easy right there, in the boat. But then we have this dative participle, this imbanti, that's from imbino, to embark or to get into, often used like getting into a boat. It's an aorist active participle. It's dative masculine singular. And then we have a dative masculine singular pronoun that seems to be actually doing this. And he's the one that's getting into the boat, and then his disciples are following him. It would seem what we have is what some grammarians have labeled a dative absolute construction. You're probably familiar with the genitive absolute. It's very common, but if you want to read more about this, I'll refer you to Chuck Quarles' Egg and Tea commentary on Matthew. He notes, I think the dative absolute occurs 4 times in Matthew, and it's very similar to the way the genitive absolute works. You take the dative noun or pronoun, and it becomes your subject, and the dative participle becomes your verb, got into, and then usually these are temporal, so the kai is the and there. So, and when he got into the boat, his disciples followed him.